Earlier on in this debate, I provided some positive supports for why we should use restraint and seclusion, and in this section of the debate I would like to provide some evidence for those claims. So I'm just going to start with safety. That was my paramount argument, that we should use restraint and seclusion to keep our kids safe, or our clients safe, not necessarily just kids. So I did some research and found that the Department of Education and also the Council for Children with Behavioral Disorders both are in full support of using restraint and seclusion under specific guidelines. So the Department of Education has said that restraints and seclusion should only be used in emergency situations as a last resort, when there are no other options, and that the people implementing the restraint and the seclusion should be trained properly and should know how to implement them properly. So that was from the Department of Education's restraint and seclusion's guideline document, or like a resource document that was published in 2012, and it's given to schools to kind of explain why we use restraint and seclusion, who should use restraint and seclusion, and what are the benefits and the not so good things. So that's that. And then I also wanted to talk about how we can use restraint and seclusion to reduce aggressive behaviors in a behavior intervention plan. So I found 2 studies that showed behavior reduction using restraint and seclusion. The first one was done in 2007 by Fox and Meindl. What this study said was that used in conjunction with positive behavioral supports, you can also include aggression, contingent, restraint to reduce negative behavior. So in this study, they used a token economy as their positive behavioral support, and then when the student became aggressive, they would restrain him, and they showed that his aggressive behaviors reduced to 0 for an entire year. So that was really cool to read about. And then another study done by Langone in 2008 showed that restraints can be implemented to fade aggressive behaviors. And what they did in this study was, in the baseline section of the baseline phase of the intervention, he was restrained until he was calm for 30 seconds. So he had to remain calm for 30 seconds to be released from the hold. And then in the intervention phase, they systematically faded that time that he was in a restraint. So even before he was calm, regardless of his behavior in the actual hold, they would release the hold, and it showed that his behavior also was reduced, his aggressive behavior. So those are some of the key points that I have, the evidence that I have to support the fact that restraints and seclusions are appropriate to use in emergency situations, and as an aggressive reducing technique.